Welcome back. 40 years ago, most ambulance rides were free, provided by cities or counties as a public service. But these days, I think those bills to patients can easily run into the thousands of dollars. So why are ambulance rides so expensive? Ed Herman from the law firm Brown and Crouppen joins us this morning to explain. Ed, it's good to connect with you. How are you?
I'm doing well. Let me start by saying this. Despite the fact that ambulance rides have gotten more expensive, I want to make it clear to everybody that it is the smart thing to do if you have any type of medical emergency. In a medical emergency, cost should not even be the thing on your mind. And the reason they have gotten more expensive in many ways is actually to the benefit of us as citizens. And that's because nowadays, an ambulance is really a fully supplied medical unit. Years ago, it was basically a way of transporting you to the hospital. Now it's basically like a mobile hospital. And that means that they have to keep it fully supplied. And that means that the personnel that works on an ambulance are higher level of training, medical training.
I'm glad you started with the notion, though, that the last thing we want to do is discourage anybody from making that important call. In the medical arena, they always talk about how minutes, sometimes even seconds, can save lives. So it's critical.
Absolutely, especially heart attacks and
Yep.
strokes. Time is everything.
Amen. So you mentioned the supplies, you mentioned the personnel. I think one of the things we should probably tackle is there's a lot of people who are going to think, well, I have health insurance. I think it's pretty good health insurance. That means that most, maybe even all of my bill will be covered, right? Is that logical or is that flawed thinking?
Well, it's a little bit of both, actually. If you have Medicaid or Medicare, there are certain amounts that's all they're going to pay for an ambulance ride. And then it becomes a question of, is the ambulance company required to take that as payment in full, or are they going to look for other methods to make up the difference in the money? Same thing with your private insurance. Some private insurance, they have contracted discounts, and it may depend on which ambulance service comes and gets you. It may depend on which hospital they took you to. Sometimes your insurance will say, we're only going to pay X number of dollars, and we only pay if it goes to the closest medical facility. But sometimes, if depending on the nature of your injury, they may take you somewhere a little bit further because they know they're going to have the better medical treatment for you in that moment. So this is my advice to people. Number one, if you need an ambulance, get an ambulance. Don't worry about the money. It'll all get figured out later. Your life or the life of your loved ones is more valuable than any ambulance bill. Number two, when you do get an ambulance bill, make sure that it gets submitted to your health insurance. Sometimes it doesn't. They don't know on an ambulance situation. Don't assume just because the hospital bill was submitted to your insurance that somebody took the time to submit your ambulance bill. So make sure it gets submitted. And then when it does get submitted, hopefully it'll get paid. But if it doesn't, talk to your insurance company. A lot of times they can negotiate a proper settlement of the bill.
If you want to get in touch with Brown and Crouppen, you can call them anytime, 314-222-2222, or visit their website at getbc.com.